are now live. We're live, broadcasting on all systems from coast to coast, wherever you may be, into your eardrums.
You ever listen to Coast Radio?
Yes, with George Nori.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing nighttime radio.
Yeah. He still do that?
Yeah, west of the Rockies. How are you?
Yeah.
Somebody would call and talk about an alien. We're gonna bring it down to earth. Not so much about aliens, but it's something that might be alien. You like how I did that there?
Nice
Something that might
nice
be
segue.
nice segue.
Transition.
By the way, welcome LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I'm not gonna say this anymore, but Happy New Year. This is like my sixth live stream of the year. I feel like 2023 is well underway, more
So
than well underway. There's new CDAs, there's new surveys. Chris, I'm behind on feasibility surveys. That's how busy we
nice.
have become, all by following the leads I get from DSCS.
Very
Because, like Hair
nice.
Club for Men, not only am I the client, I'm the president.
There you go. So you bring up an interesting question. I'm going a
I
little
do.
off.
I didn't bring up
Where,
any question, but it's
yeah, you
okay.
actually did. So
Okay.
I actually had this thought today. So I received an email from somebody at a CRO,
hmm
and they said Happy New Year, right?
Yes.
How long, at least in research, should you say Happy New Year to people?
Well, some people believe it's like if it's someone as the first occurrence that you see them that year,
Okay.
regardless of when it is. So if you know them and you see them in July, hey, I haven't seen you all year. Happy New Year, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Other people say no more than 2 weeks after.
See, I'm that's about what I do, about 2 weeks.
Yeah, me too. I actually forgot it's New Year already. Like I'm head in the email. I'm busy training new staff right now. Shout out to Daisy Villanueva. She watches. Daisy bought the book long before she even knew that she could work for us. Um,
Hmm.
long, long time ago. She's a huge fan of our book, Chris. So I've been head deep in training and getting studies, working on our e-reg and e-source. Shout out to our sponsor Viva for sponsoring the podcast. They don't sponsor the live streams, but they're so good. I give them shout outs also in the live streams. I learned about e-delegation e-delegation today and e-signature. E1572. You no longer need a wet ink signature on your 1572s.
Well, that's not entirely true.
That's open for debate for another podcast.
Well, why I say
That
that's
topic is absolutely unequivocally proven by the FDA that they don't care.
that still doesn't matter.
I know.
What matters is what the sponsors want. So
That's
if
correct.
they demand a wedding, you got to give them a wedding. That's what I meant by that's debatable.
Yes, or you can argue with them and say, "Well, why? Here's our SOP." If you put in this industry, if you push back enough, and it's justified, and you have SOPs for it, and it's backed by regulations, they're more likely, not always, to cave in. But we haven't actually even used e-signature or e-delegation log yet, but I think for our next study we will.
So I don't disagree with what you said about pushing back.
Mhm.
However, I'm of the philosophy try and make it as easy as possible for the sponsors to work with the sites. And therefore, you're not giving them any problems that they may in turn be less interested in working with your site in the future. That's that's kind of my
I
motto.
see what you did there, Chris. Excellent segue. Let's not make life tough for sponsors. If you are a site, whether you
Mm-hmm.
are a brand new site or a site that's thinking about being brand new, there are some sites that are not even they're sites by name, but they haven't even really thought about how do I get a study.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are sites that are experienced that have been doing this for decades. There are sites in between. It's busy. I'm behind on surveys. Shout out to also, they're not a sponsor, but Versa Trial for not only managing all of our bookmarks for studies, which is absolutely free, but having a really cool feasibility helper. I mean,
What do you
this is a time saver, Chris.
what do
I
you
have
mean
to
by
show you in person.
yeah, what do you mean by bookmarks for studies?
So on average, we have about 10 to 12 vendors per study, right? More or
Mm-hmm.
less.
Mm-hmm.
This stores them all for you in your browser window. So you open it up and you say, this study, let me see this study, the diabetes study. I need to find the eye exam vendor.
Okay.
Boom, boom, it's right there.
Well,
You're in. You're
uh,
in.
veteran sites, I'm sure, have all kinds of different ways of doing this. The way I've always done it is just a Word document and have a Word document for each study because you have so many passwords. You
Yeah.
have a link to the website and then what your passwords are under it. That's the way I've kept track of the different websites.
And that works too. I mean, whatever keeps you, like, whatever works for you. For me, being very disorganized, to even have that Word document when I need it, it's a huge ask. So just having it in Google Chrome when I open a new tab, it's right there.
Sure, that makes sense.
And also they help with the feasibilities. They fill in all that mundane stuff of name, PI name, address, all that stuff. Once you do one, it remembers future, no matter where the survey comes from.
Nice.
It's awesome and it's free. Anyways, they're getting way too many shout out. This is for a free service. So I'm drowning in study opportunities. All right.
That's a good place to be. Better than dying in the desert with no study opportunities.
That's right. And I am in the desert. So guys, leave your comments. Let us know what you're thinking right now. This one's for the site owners. Um, but Chris, we had with our consulting service that we help sites get studies amongst a bunch of other things like negotiating their contracts and stuff. We always tell clients there's two ways we get studies for you. One is, just like anyone else can on clinicaltrials.gov, we use different tools on top of it. We also have human resources that they dive deep, like Jeslyn, who works for us, dives deep into LinkedIn to try to find the contacts and reaches out to them, which has been working really well, actually.
So that's actually two independent ways, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So I've been telling when we do calls with potential clients, I've been telling them have two established ways we bring studies to you, and we're developing a third. That's what I tell them.
We're
Right.
developing a third, and we're going. Oh, you got a question? You're getting pushback, Chris. How do you secure your password? Is this file password protected? If someone gets a hold of your Word doc,
The
file.
laptops password protected, and we also have a firewall. That's all that sponsors really require.
There you go. All right. So I still keep it simple and say there's two ways to get study. One is outbound, the other is inbound. All right. One, we are working on finding leads for you, hunting. The other one, we're cultivating CROs and sponsor relationships with us. And you just got off a call with one of these sponsor CROs that literally is going to visit our clients to give them studies.
Mm-hmm.
How
Yeah,
is this? Can
literally.
you shed some light on this? Like,
Sure.
this is not
So
normal, first of all.
yeah, it strikes me as a little odd as well.
Is that a sign of the times, or is this just like what they need to do to compete with the big boys?
I'm not sure why they do this. We set up a weekly call to discuss these types of things and any concerns that either party has, us or them. But essentially, so the CRO, they do very minimalistic studies in terms of work required by the site. So a lot of these studies aren't necessarily appropriate for veteran sites. Um, we have approximately 80 sites in our network, of which at any given time, about 40% are research naive. So the studies offered by this CRO make a lot of sense for our research naive clients. They're absolutely willing and actually want to work with research naive sites because they're aware of what they can pay for these studies per patient completed. It's not that much, and again, veteran sites just aren't going to be interested. Where this is beneficial to, again, research naive sites is it provides them research experience. Sponsors, oftentimes most sponsors, before working with a study site, they want to see experience of some sort. So again, this provides that experience. So what Dan was referring to that I find a little odd is we provided them with, we didn't provide it to them. We sent out the studies and what they paid, 3 different studies and what they paid to all of our clients. And they received about 30 different sites responses. So about
Wow.
50 of our clients weren't interested. 30 were.
I am one
So,
that was not.
right. And neither was I. But of those that were interested, they're literally, before awarding the study to any of these sites, they're going to physically visit them,
Wow.
which is backwards of what usually occurs, right?
And
Well,
these
I
are
guess,
low budget studies.
yeah, yeah, low budget. They range from 300. There's three different studies. They range from $300 to $1,000 for their one visit. They're a one visit study, and they range in payment from 300 to 1,000. So the $1,000 budget
Per patient.
studies,
Per patient.
yeah, one visit. So yeah, it would be per patient or per visit,
Are
however
they
you want to look at it.
expecting high enrolling
Fairly
studies?
high enrolling. So for the three studies they initially provided us with, and it was funny when I was talking to them today, they thought I was lying to them when I said, listen, you're going to get a lot of response, so I hope you're prepared for this when we send these out. And they said they thought there would be no way they would get the kind of response they did. So
Mhm.
they weren't expecting 30 sites to email them about their three different studies. So um, each study, I think, is 180 patients is what they're looking for. So again, they awarded the study to 5 of our clients.
Mm.
And again, they
And
got
it's
30
those kind of
responses.
studies. It's those kind.
Well,
I'm on their website now, but to keep confidential, they're sample. These are sample studies, so they'll take biological samples and analyze them. And but they are studies, and it's a
mhm,
great way for research naive or, like you said, newer sites to get the ball
gain some
rolling.
experience. Yep.
Hmm.
So you have to have some experience on your CV to move on to bigger and better things, right? Um,
Hmm.
AstraZeneca most often is not going to consider a research naive site for a study, but they will if you have at least minimal experience. And this is what that is. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily minimal. It's an actual study. It's listed on clinicaltrials.gov.
Yep.
Um, but it's
And
more in line with a phase 4 study, which those are minimal experience trials. They're usually relatively simple to take care of, um, but that counts,
usually,
and that's what
usually.
sponsors want to see.
Hmm.
Um, and I forget you stopped me in the middle of a statement, and I forget what I was talking about. Didn't finish the
Oh,
thought,
sorry.
but that's okay.
If anyone
But
knows what Chris was gonna say, put in the comments.
yeah, sure, mind readers. So, but just to finish a different thought, it's just kind of odd that. Well, I was going to say it's kind of odd that they're going out to these sites before awarding a study, but not really, because they're all they're only going out to sites that completed their simple feasibility questionnaire that they sent. So they're still following the pattern of a typical CRO, I guess. So, but they're visiting everybody that completed it.
I think for studies like this, they want to reduce any chance of fraud,
Mhm,
um, because for the type of samples they're collecting, the fraud would obviously be caught very quickly and would be very embarrassing to them
sure.
if they're the CRO and they're
Yep.
presenting that data, those those samples to the sponsor. So I think there's an element of that from what I glanced on their website very briefly.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree. And I remember what I was going to say. So they've awarded the studies to 5 of our sites. Each study needs 180 patients. And I believe they said today that's all they're going to award these 3 studies to, you know, are those 5 sites.
Mhm.
So that's what they're expecting, because you asked how many patients are they expecting from each site. So 5 into 180 is, what is that? About 10, 20, 30, 35 patients. So they're expecting 35 patients from each site for each study. Um, but she did say that, well, that's, you have 30 sites we're going to visit. We're going to give them all studies, because they have a bunch of studies like this to give sites.
Right.
So I haven't seen these studies or what they pay. I'm just familiar with the 3. And they said they're going to award the other sites, these other studies they have. They said they're getting these studies all the time, so this won't be an issue. They'll have like
And
two or
there
three
are
new studies each week.
look, there are some even experienced sites that take on. I wouldn't take this kind of study on. To me, like as a more experienced site, we've only been doing this a year and a half at my site, but we have plenty of studies to not have to take these. There are still these type of studies that I would take if there is some kind of benefit to the patient, or so the first thing I look for is, do they bill insurance? If they bill
Hmm.
insurance,
Not
patient
interested.
insurance, not interested. It's like technically it's not a scam, but I consider it a scam, and so does Chris. So I'm
Hmm.
sure you discussed this like first conversation with this CRO or sponsor, like this is the case. Yes, okay. We're
Yep.
not interested. You're not okay. Tell me more. So if there's a benefit to the patient, I would take this. Or if it's something that's trending in that community, like recently we had RSV, and there was a RSV. I turned it down. In hindsight, I should have taken it because based on what you told me, it's relatively easy. And
Hmm.
it's providing a service to the community. Like they don't actually test for RSV for adults.
Hmm.
So the patient's benefit would be, if you're feeling sick and you want to know whether it's influenza or RSV, like we have the
Or
RSV test
COVID.
here,
It,
or
they test.
COVID.
They
Yeah.
test for all three.
So we have those tests here for you free. Just come in, you get paid. If you do end up having RSV, boom, there's a study for you. Now it's another consent.
Yep.
Studies like that benefit patients and are relatively easy.
Yep.
Um, so even for experienced sites, and they help when there's down days, slow days at the clinic. Um, Now we also get bigger sponsors and CROs reaching out to us as well, looking for our clients. I mean, we've talked to like
Well.
big pharma.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are working with to this day.
Yeah, a couple different larger pharma companies. So we're I would say we receive about a half a dozen emails a month from larger pharma companies asking if any of our clients would be interested in a given study.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, really,
And
what's
they don't go
developed
visit. They only go visit the sites when they do site selection visit.
exactly? Which technically that's what they're doing. This
Mm.
the CRO we're talking about because they do have them fill out a simple feasibility questionnaire, and then once it's completed, they go and visit the
Oh,
site.
okay. So they're probably doing a site selection visit. They're just doing it themselves, and
It's a
they're a
real
small
simple
enough
site.
company.
I talked to him about it. It's a super simple site selection visit. It takes no more than 30 minutes,
So they're just gauging the PI's interest and
making sure
uh,
it's a legit site, that kind of thing, I imagine.
I'm thinking they're wanting like real world patients, or it doesn't have to be a private practice.
Good question. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. Because that, I mean, most of these kind of studies, like the one I just mentioned, RSV, they're better suited for like private practice,
Sure,
hybrid.
sure. But
But I
that's because
guess
of
you can do it
recruitment.
without. Yeah,
That's because of recruitment, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, you could run an ad. Hey, are you feeling sick? Come and get tested to see what it is you have, right?
Hmm.
Free of charge. And that'll draw, I would imagine, a significant number of people that would be interested. But certainly, recruitment's much easier if it's a family practitioner and just test everybody who comes in, obviously with their permission, because you have to sign a consent to go through that initial testing. It's a simple consent, not a
Hmm.
study consent, just consent to run the test. I believe it's a one-page consent. But then if they have RSV, like you said, then they sign the actual study consent if interested.
And those kind of studies typically, I mean, that one, that RSV one was not like, it's considered one of these like, for lack of a better word, like a cheapo study. Like, it's meant to be high enrollment, very easy to do, very quick turnover of patients.
Hmm.
It was actually somewhat complicated because it required a local lab. So for like that might not have been the best entry level study, but if you're private practice, like most busy private practices do have a local lab that they're affiliated with for blood
Hmm.
draws, at least
Hmm.
internal medicine, they can do it. So We're just trying to give people strategies for how to get studies when they're newer. We're also talking to some of the more experienced sites about how they can continue to maintain consistency of visits and cash flow when your real studies are a little bit harder to enroll for, which they're all getting like harder to enroll for.
So uh, I would like to end this topic in terms of just giving, uh, kind of a disclaimer.
Mhm.
So this relationship we've developed with the CRO, it could be short-lived, it could be long-lived. We have no idea. Relationships end, unfortunately. So while we definitely have a means for research naive sites to get studies now, I mean, within 2-3 months, the way they make it sound, the CROs, is that anybody we bring to them, they'll give them a study within 3 months. That's the way they make it sound. So um, we certainly have an in for research naive sites now. That's always been a problem to get them their initial study. So if you're research naive, you're thinking that you might like to get into research, we surely have means for you to do so, at least at this time. In the
Mhm.
future, that may not be the case. But as of right now, certainly we have a relationship with somebody that we can get you as a research naive site of study or your first study.
Yeah, as of January 2023.
Yep. But I would like to segue because I know you don't have a lot more time, Dan. So um, I thought we would have a disagreement on this topic. So I got a call from a client today, also research naive, and they were having their first site selection visit, or
Congrats.
they're
Good.
about to have their first site selection visit.
Very good.
It's so let me start over. The call was last night. Their site selection visits today. Okay. So part of their call was, hey, what do I wear to a site selection visit? Is it a complete like business attire? Do I wear a jacket
Mm,
and a suit
mm,
and a tie and all of that? And I said, so what I generally wear is either a full button down shirt and jeans or, or a polo shirt and jeans. I generally wear a polo shirt like I'm wearing now and jeans, but I felt go one step higher than what I actually wear, right?
yeah.
Just to make sure that he's dressed appropriately.
Yeah.
Now here's the question I have for you, right? So what I told him to wear was a full button down shirt and jeans. I think you'll be fine. Um, do you think you could be overdressed or underdressed for a site selection visit?
Yes and yes.
So you can be both overdressed and underdressed.
Yes.
So what would you say is
So
the
these CRAs, I mean, we just literally ended on one company goes to site, do site selection visit. They want to scope it out and see if it's legit, if they know what they're doing, more or
Mhm.
less, if they're capable of doing. You don't want any clues. You don't want to give any like outlier signals. And dress is like the first thing people notice. Dress
Absolutely.
is a reflection of professionalism. This is why I really think, and there's many answers to this question. It has to, there's a couple layers actually, not many answers. It has to fit into the context of the site. So if the site is an existing private practice, I'm guessing like scrubs are not inappropriate to wear. Uh, the doctor probably has the private practice probably has MAs.
Mhm.
I don't know any private practice office where the MAs are either not wearing scrubs or some kind of uniform. In the company I work at, the MAs they don't wear scrubs. They wear polo shirts with the logo, the company logo. And at my other site where we have another PI, they wear scrubs. They don't have a logo. They just wear standard medical scrubs. So what I made my sites do is we have a polo shirt for Yuma clinical trials to make it
Mhm.
easy.
Mhm.
So we're not actually part of the medical practice. We're not up to par. So we're not going to wear up to par shirts to blend
That's
in.
FYI for anybody who doesn't follow Dan. That's the name of the practice. It's not that Dan's not up to par.
Yes,
It's the
that's the
name of the
name of the
practice.
private practice. So we're not going to wear their uniform, but I made something close enough. So it's polo shirts with our logo. It takes this like to not even be something you think about. All right. If you are not at a private practice. Let's say you're a standalone research center. That's entirely up to the site owner to decide. And honestly, this is the first site I've ever had uniforms at, but I think in hindsight, I would have done this everywhere. Polo shirts or scrubs. It just makes it so much easier and puts the monitors at ease. Like, okay, this is a clinic. It's even more important when you're at a standalone site, I think. I
So
think overdressing's like you're trying to sell too hard. You know how like the sometimes the sleaziest salespeople wear suits all the time?
yeah,
You
completely
want to
agree.
avoid that, but you also want to avoid like, and I've done this, so don't do what I do, but like wearing just t-shirts to a SOC
T-shirts and a baseball cap.
and sandals,
Yeah.
which I've probably done.
So that's why your answer surprises me, because I know you dress like that at site selection visits. I've seen you do it. So
Yes.
it's why you're surprising me with your answer. So are you saying you've evolved into this?
I'm saying don't do what I do, what I have done in the past.
So what you've done in the past, do you think that's ever cost you a study?
No, I don't think so, but that's because we were already established by the time I started dressing down. Like the staff would not dress as down as me. So there was like an understanding that, well, at least at our Anaheim clinic, when I would
So
do that, the actual coordinators would wear like polo shirts or sometimes scrubs. And I never had to tell anyone, hey, you need to dress up better. Like they didn't follow my lead,
okay, so this
basically.
this would be the levels or elements you're talking about, how it differs, right? So
Yes.
what I hear you saying is, for research naive sites, don't give them more cause to not award your site
Yeah.
a study.
And when
Dress,
I was research naive, my first study, like I didn't go in a t-shirt and a hat either. I wore like I think I wore khakis and like a dress shirt,
okay.
and dress shoes. Like,
Okay, so same question that was asked of me by a research naive site. What would be your advice on what to wear then?
are they in a private practice or standalone?
It's private practice.
I would try to match what the MAs wear, but not
Okay.
exactly. But like if they have, honestly, it would be better than dressing up or down is to like wear the same shirts they're wearing. Say, hey, we're so integrated into their private practice, we even wear the same uniform.
So I don't know if that's correct or not. I'm not disagreeing, but I'm not agreeing either. Because generally speaking, CRAs and sponsors in general know that these are two independent companies, generally
Right,
speaking.
right.
Um, so I think it's okay to dress differently than the private practice. I just would at least
Oh yeah,
wear
yeah.
jeans and a full button down shirt. Um,
I think it's okay to dress differently too. We actually do. Our uniforms don't match theirs,
mhm.
but I would take that over overdressing or underdressing for this person.
Okay.
Like if it's last minute, you don't have an outfit, ask the PIA, give me like an extra shirt
Mhm.
or a scrub. Give me like a scrub somebody's not wearing. Like just something. I would not wear a suit. Maybe back east they do this more, but even there they don't wear suits at site selection visits.
So button down shirt and jeans, button down shirt and khakis. What?
That's okay. That's okay.
A tie too?
I mean, I don't think it's. I don't know. We're
Dan
this is a good
Dan
topic.
Dan hates ties. So
It's a good topic. Look, this is why I think the back to my point. Like, I really think having a polo shirt or a scrub with your logo makes it
so
easy.
here's why I said what I said. Button down shirt and jeans. Because I would say it's about 50-50. When you see a CRA, sorry, I got a gnat attacking me here.
Good.
When you see a CRA, when they come to your site, almost
Darren says I love ties, by the way.
all I hate them. I feel like I'm being choked to death. But anyhow, almost always they're either wearing a full button down shirt and jeans, or full button down shirt and khakis. 50-50 on
Yeah.
male CRAs.
Business casual is CRA attire.
Yeah, jeans
Business
or
casual.
khakis along with a full button down shirt.
Yes.
and generally speaking, a t-shirt underneath the full button down shirt. So that's what you want to strive for.
But you
What?
got t-shirt underneath. Nobody likes that anymore. They do just like the regular
Well, that's
muscle shirt
generally
down.
what I see from CRAs,
Yeah,
male
yeah.
CRAs.
They've never
So
been accused of being the most stylish, but yeah.
so that would be my recommendation. Dresses those who are in the business dress that are
Mirror
making decisions.
Mirror the CRA is a good. It's
Exactly.
a good yes, and they're typically business casual.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's a good answer. I think for me to keep it like staff compliant, and I haven't had issues. Um, I only had one employee that in the past that didn't dress like to where I was comfortable putting them in front of a site selection visit. But most of the other staff I've had, even when we didn't have uniforms, dressed well. I can only think of one that I would actually have to tell him, like, hey, I don't even think you knew him. Um, his name was Vince. He didn't last very long, but he was the only one I was not comfortable. He would try to mirror me how I dressed, and it only works if you're the owner, guys. You can't just do that. And that's when you're established, right? Even now, like today, I started not wearing my uniform at work um, every day because the employees get that they have to wear their shirts every day, and they have more than enough. Yeah, I gave some of mine to another employee, so I'm waiting to get a resupply.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think the either scrubs, a company logo, polo, or scrubs, or like you said, business casual, somewhere in that order. I'm still thinking like the logo thing, something you should consider in the future.
Well, I would agree with. I don't think any of those three options are going to cause you any problems. Um, so long as you pick one of those three options, right?
Right, right.
If you're wearing baseball caps, which I don't necessarily even think, I've just never seen a CRO wear baseball caps, so I'd probably stay away from that
I wear baseball caps like almost. I
every
used to
day. I
almost
know.
wear them almost every day.
Yeah.
Um, I kind of stopped wearing them every day at the clinic because I still do every now and then. But if I know I'm gonna be there all day and I'm gonna be expecting to be walking around the clinic all day, um, I feel a little funny doing that when I'm the only one doing that. But if I know I'm gonna just sit in my office all day and not really leave the office, I'll wear one. It's more I'm being aware of like the patients and the staff, and if the private practice kind of considers me part of their group. So if I'm walking around in like baseball cap and patients seeing me, I don't want to like be the cause of like any branding uh negative branding. So
Sure.
that's why I don't, but I still do here and there. But the staff, no. We don't let the staff do that.
Hmm.
Like the actual staff that works for us. Um,
And it would be a little unusual being the staff are all female. I think would be a little unusual, but maybe not.
yeah. There's also a part of it where you're the site owner, director. You have to set a good example. So I do that here and there. But yeah, I agree. You don't want your attire to be the reason why why you didn't get a study at a
Right.
site selection.
If you're all wearing shorts and tank tops and flip flops, and research naive,
Yeah,
you're
that last part is the kicker because you can do that and be like the premier site for like that specialty in the nation.
if you've developed your reputation.
That's right. That's right. You can get away with that. They might question, like, why is everyone wearing shorts, flip flops? Well, today's are days where we don't see patients. We see monitors, and
Yeah,
one of the perks is
you're allowed to
giving.
dress as you like.
Yeah, they wouldn't even question a site that's experienced. I mean, they might question later, but yeah. But the kicker is research naive. When you are, you don't want to give any signals
Hmm.
that they should not select you. So overdressing or underdressing, like Darren says, tuxedo's not included. Yeah, if you wear a tux at a site selection visit, if I'm a CRA and I'm doing SSV and I'm at a site and their owner's wearing a tuxedo, I'll probably ask him like, "Are you going to a wedding or something later?" Or,
So you wouldn't make an assumption, but then when he says no, you would laugh later about this
yeah,
person.
what are they trying to hide?
Sure.
So just your advice was good. I would take it a step further. I really think the logos um, and or scrubs are good, are better
If again, if you're new though, may or may not have had the time or
to get
the
a logo.
resources to invest into your logo.
But scrubs are
Sure.
you can get them at Walmart. Scrubs you can get anywhere.
Yeah.
So when in doubt, you're not gonna go wrong in being in a clinical research wearing scrubs. If you
But
really don't know how to dress, just get scrubs. You'll be okay.
so I know you're probably running out of time here, but real quick, we didn't address females. So business casual, what would that consist of for females?
I mean, they have they. I don't know. Business casual for females, same thing as for males.
Slacks,
Yeah,
jeans. Jeans are okay.
that's why polos work too. Again, polos and scrubs. That's pretty unisex.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
Good topic. I don't think it's ever been covered in the history of
Your
my
channel.
show. So thank you,
You're
and
welcome.
hopefully the client sees this. Well, it's too late now, but for your next one,
Yeah.
hopefully he didn't wear a tuxedo.
He didn't. Like I said, I talked to him last night. Today was his site selection visit.
Good enough.
Yeah. I would have given him your advice as well, but I think I still would have, because it was just him as far as representation from the research side. I think I still would have just said button down shirt and khakis or jeans are fine.
Yeah, it's it's that's fine too. It's just there is
If it were
slightly
new,
better
if it were numerous staff, I think then you kind of move more towards having some sort of designated outfit for
uniform.
everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or scrubs.
That's also a good variable is the size of the staff. Like if you are the one man show, if it's just you and your PI,
Hmm.
you may not need. Matter of fact, we didn't have. Good point. We didn't have uniform until we started hiring employees that were not me,
Right.
and I knew that we would have multiple. So you're right. The first SSV I did at my new site was with PI, and we didn't have uniform. So I think I wore what you just suggested. Like I wore jeans and
Polo or button
polo
down.
or a dress shirt. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
exactly what you suggested.
Well, again, research naive, I strongly suggest a complete button down shirt for the males, not a polo. I think once you develop, and have some sort of a reputation, have some experience, I think polo's fine too.
Yeah,
But you should dress like the CRA's dress, really.
probably first and last time I'll ever give fashion advice. And you
Yeah.
can
Yeah. Not something I ever thought of bringing up, but like I said, I was questioned about this
good
last night.
topic.
So I figured this would be something Dan and I could argue over because of how you used to dress at site selection
Yeah,
visits.
but
But
see, it's different between what I used to do versus what my employees did. There was a clear
hey, everybody, Dan,
line.
everybody, let me tell you a secret. Dan's getting older. That's why.
I don't know if that's the case because I still wear what I used to wear. Just I
No,
think
when you
about
were
it
20,
slightly more.
when you were 25 at site selection visits, you were wearing shorts, flip flops,
Oh
and a
no, actually, no. Back then, I was actually wearing like dress. I was wearing tie.
okay, maybe 25 is not fair. 30,
Yes,
yeah.
I may have had a shorts and flip flops at SSV once, but I was never the main coordinator.
No, I
When I'm the
understand.
main coordinator, yeah, yeah,
But I'm just saying why I was basing. I thought we would have a bit
yeah.
of an argument over
Well,
that.
one of our PIs, not the one that is the main guy, but the dermatologist, he wears scrubs with his name on it, and then he actually does wear flip flops every day, but it's with his scrubs, so he gets away with it. But none of the staff wears flip flops.
If you have more time, I got another topic, a tangent to this topic. If you don't, that's fine.
I got like 5 minutes.
Okay, so here's another one. Maybe we can argue about this one. Trying to find something we can argue over.
Oh, you like that?
Yeah, I like arguing. So Dan has said everybody that he's fine. I don't know about research, but just in general, he would not judge somebody based off of tattoos, right?
Correct. Correct.
I have said there'd be no way I would hire somebody, at least for research or probably for anything else, if they had neck tattoos or higher, right? Face or neck tattoos, not getting hired.
That's probably our generational difference.
So, do you still affirm that in research you would hire somebody with a neck
Not
or face
only do I
tattoo?
affirm, my
Face
coordinator has
too.
not face, but she has a neck tattoo. One of my
Okay.
coordinators.
All right. All right. So, you don't think that some CREs may judge that?
I do.
You do. Okay.
But I think if that's the case, this person is super professional. Like the way she carries herself.
hmm
We have uniforms. We don't have uniforms because of that, but we have uniforms. Um, she's a CNA, so she belongs in the clinical setting. Um, she belongs. It
Okay.
looks
Fair
tries to
enough.
look like she belongs.
And I'm not saying you should judge people. So, I am and I'm not. So, I am a little bit more apprehensive about people with neck and face tattoos in terms of they could be a problem just in general in society. Like if I run
Yeah,
into them on the street, need to be a little bit more cognizant that I think this person could be trouble, right? Not that they are, because you don't know
generally,
the
yeah,
person. Judge
yeah,
the individual, not people as a whole, right?
yes.
But just be a little bit more aware of your surroundings. That's the way I approach people with neck and face tattoos,
Well, I'll
personally.
tell you,
Personally,
it's definitely not a positive
but
in that candidate.
but
Like,
I
but it's
agree.
neutral slash slightly negative in my book.
So, but in a professional business, I think appearance does matter. Just like getting back to the tire,
Yeah,
I think I would prefer somebody I hire that's going to be a face for my company that they, no pun intended or coincidentally here, they don't have face tattoos.
very much so.
They don't have neck tattoos, and really they don't have arm tattoos either, unless they're going to wear long sleeve shirts
Well, these
for
days, almost
interactions
everyone
with
has arm tattoos.
CRAs.
Yeah,
That's just my opinion, right? Because why do I want to risk something over appearance?
yeah. Well, there's also you can get into a different types of tattoos. Like there's artistic ones, and there's like street
Sure,
tattoos,
sure, but arm
and
tattoos
there's
less
prison
important,
tattoos.
right? But arm tattoos are the least important of the three because you can
Right.
cover those. You can cover those,
Yeah, because my other coordinator has one right here. She has one,
sure,
Katie.
and you can cover those. I take
Yeah, and it's
less
like
issue with
two
that.
hummingbirds like dancing or
Sure,
something.
and
I mean, nothing intimidating about it.
tattoos have become a little more accepted over time. Just still think that people could potentially judge on neck and face
Judge a book by a
tattoos.
cover. I think it's like the clothing, the first impression, but you also don't want to give more reasons. It's not a deal breaker for me. Is the thing. Like, your attire you can change. Your like clothing,
hmm
tats are harder to remove. Um, so it's you can tell when somebody's used to have like maybe a rough upbringing, but has
Sure,
changed. Like
sure.
that's why I don't necessarily make that a deal breaker for me.
So it depends on the circumstance whether it's a deal breaker for me. Again, if they're a face of the company in which they're going to interact with new people who are gauging things off of first impressions, that could be a deal breaker.
Yeah,
If it's somebody who's behind the scenes or is not directly involved face to face with people,
yeah,
obviously less so. I don't care then.
yeah. Janet has a good comment on this. It says for the visit, the person should hide tattoos until monitors gets to know everyone.
Completely agree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
completely agree with
There's
Janet's
also different
comment.
there's also different variations of tattoos though. There's like tribal tats that
I'm
people
sorry.
have.
I don't care what the tat is. If it's on their face,
The face
especially
is
on their
face is
face,
like another degree, yeah. But there's
and
also degrees on the face too.
even neck, I'm right there. I think it's too
Yeah,
close to the face.
I know. Look, nobody else is discussing these topics
Yep.
anywhere, I don't think, in
Yep.
our industry. So thank you, Chris. It's not
Well,
something I would have brought up on my own.
sure. I just figured it correlated to the
Yeah.
attire, but
You're not going to get an argument, though.
but
I don't disagree with you. I just don't agree as strongly.
sure. I just don't think you want to risk anything by taking on an employee when you're new that
Yeah.
has face or neck tattoos, unless they're just not going to be seen. The people, they're not like Janet said.
Yeah.
First,
When you're new, you're more likely like the person representing the company, like the site owner. Um, I can't think of any site owners I know with tattoos, but I think Brad Hightower might have some, but he doesn't have face tattoos.
again, tattoos are more accepted
Brad, do you
now.
have tattoos?
I, you know, if it can
Oh,
be
Brad's got like sleeves, I think, but he
if it
covers them up in the SSBs with
exactly
like
if
dress shirts and stuff.
exactly if they can be covered, they're not going to be an issue.
Yeah, but
It's
now everybody knows Brad. They don't care if he has tattoos.
uh, yeah, maybe not. More so when you're research naive, you got to worry about this stuff.
Yes, I agree. I agree. You want to put your best foot forward.
Yep.
But as far as like just who you're hiring, I mean, if you're hiring an MA or someone that's patient recruitment that you're grooming to be a CRC, to me, it's not a deterrent.
So I
Especially if
know.
you dress. This is why I think the uniforms is like another plus one. Okay, neck, face tat, maybe a little slight negative to you, a lot negative. Well, dress it up with a uniform for the company.
Sure. Again, I still don't think that's doing you a positive service. I think at best you're neutralizing the negative with that uniform.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
At best.
At best, yeah, I agree. But
So I mean,
people are people, man. If like talent comes with neck tats,
I know
I'm not
people
gonna say no.
I know people in major corporations in the HR department, major corporations, right? Like S&P 500 companies, right?
Like Disney,
Yeah, exactly. And they will, and it's not Disney, right? Because Disney would make more sense to me for having this
artistic,
requirement, but they will not hire people with neck or face tattoos. Just
or like
won't.
Goldman
They
Sachs,
see you walk in the door with a neck or face tattoo, they'll conduct the interview and then immediately throw your CV in the garbage.
yeah.
They have no interest in hiring you.
Especially like client services businesses like Morgan Stanley or McKesson.
Yep.
Yeah, it makes sense. And in our industry, is kind of close to that, but
And
still
that's I agree.
at the site level,
Sure.
have you ever seen a CRA with face or neck tats so far?
Nope. Nope.
So
Never
they probably also at the
have that
CRO and sponsor
requirement.
level, well, they may not put it there, but they
Sure.
might screen for it.
Sure. I'm sure the requirement is you're representing our company. Our company does not want to look I don't know, would be a nice term to put having a neck or face tattoo. We don't want to
Unprofessional.
look a little unprofessional. We want to look very professional. And if you have one of those things, unfortunately, we're not going to hire you. Like you said, they don't put that in their criteria.
Unfortunately, nobody has the cojones to do that for all the lawyers that exist, but they probably do anyways. I haven't been looking for this, but I have not, come to think of it, noticed any CRA with face or neck tats so far, and I have
Uh,
seen coordinators, my own, have it. So
sure. So
yeah,
I honestly cannot recall ever seeing a tattoo on a CRA, but that doesn't mean they don't have them, right?
no, I've seen tattoos.
On your
Yeah,
back or on your
I've
ankle
seen
or whatever the
arms.
case
I've
might
seen
be.
like
Have
hands.
you? Okay.
Yeah, oh yeah, but
Well,
just not
actually, I
face or
take that
neck.
back. I do remember CRA with some tattoos on his arms.
Oh, yeah, tattoos are not what's uncommon. It's the
Right.
face
Right. Face and neck.
uncommon. The neck's becoming like more acceptable though, and you can
Yeah.
cover it up too.
Like I just said, I know two people in HR at S&P 500 companies, two different companies, and they won't hire.
If they can't see it, they can't discriminate it.
Right.
If you can cover it,
And that's
then you're good.
exactly and the HR for the one company work the people he hires are in maintenance. So like, taking care of the toilets and things, and they still won't hire people
Mm,
with neck and face tattoos.
mm.
So
At the site level, I think a lot more goes. Like, I mean, you're dealing with some of these sites are in like rough areas where people have had like rough upbringings, or let's just say like alternative
mhm.
lifestyles, and then they've course corrected in their career, and now they're working at these clinics, and that hasn't stopped me from hiring. I've hired those kind of people before too. Punk rock that grew up, um, ex street people
No,
that
and I don't.
grew out of it.
So,
All that stuff I've seen, and I've actually hired, and especially when you get to like patient recruiters and people interacting with the community, you see that. But when it comes to like CRAs, you're absolutely right. I haven't seen face and neck tats from CRAs. Come to
so
think of
you and I, so you hired her first, and then we were discussing whether or not we should transition her to our new company because we didn't need the old
it.
company anymore. We were
Mhm.
shutting it down. I said we should keep her. So,
Yeah,
and she has neck tattoos. So
yeah,
it's not to say that I won't hire somebody. It's just there's certain elements you have to consider, at least in my opinion, who you're hiring and what they're going to be doing for your
and
company.
we've taken her with us on co-monitoring visits with those same tats,
Yep.
neck, and
Yep.
we have discussed sending her on her own with those same tats.
Hmm. So
Sometimes it just works.
just the problem is if you're, again, just to come back, correlate the two topics, tire and tattoos. If you're a research naive site, yeah, I would not have people representing your site with neck and face tattoos. Just don't
It's
do that.
it's not the best
No.
choice,
Yeah, don't do it.
but
Dress
if that
appropriately and no tattoos.
yeah, but if you already have it, that's what I'm saying. It's not a deal breaker for me, but you might run into some resistance at sponsor and CRO levels.
Yeah.
I've never seen. I don't know about never, but
Well, I can never,
like
I can't recall
bio,
ever seeing it.
like bio or DIA, big industry conferences where there's like literally 10,000 people going. I want to say I've seen neck tattoos there, but I don't know if I've seen face.
Hmm.
And
I've
then
never,
what kind of face? Like
I'm
a
just
few
saying,
dots or
I,
like full on designs like Mike Tyson. I mean,
yeah,
there's a difference, dude.
neither of those would work for me because the dots in prison represent murders, and
Yeah,
I
no.
ain't working with that.
People can change, man.
Yeah. Again, I just uh, first and foremost, you have to consider your business.
Hmm. And there's a reason why. But I think at site level, it's a little more. It's more connected to the community, and it's less ivory tower. Um,
No, I would agree with that. Certainly you can get away with more at site level than you could working directly for a large sponsor.
yeah. Well, never thought I'd have this much in depth of fashion and tattoos for clinical research, but there you go. We've covered it all, guys.
I'm sure we
Anything
haven't.
else?
I'm sure we haven't covered it all. I'm sure there's topics out there you have not touched.
I mean, I thought I had them all, and then you brought these two back to back, and I'm like, whoa, never
I'm sure.
have.
I'm sure there's more.
Maybe we can start a group face tats in clinical research.
How about
I
not?
bet you there's people out there that do you think these things will change though over time? Because it used to be like no tattoos were acceptable. Like it
Hmm.
used to be the one that my coordinator has here on the I don't know what this is called. I'm tired.
Tricep.
There you go. You would cover that up, but
Hmm.
it's more acceptable now. You could like wear polo. I remember like on the hand, people have them now. Like here, it's more
Hmm.
like a modern. Um, so maybe like that's just becoming like over the years just more and more acceptable to where I think it has to cross over into corporate 500, S&P 500 type companies for it to trickle down. Once they accept it there, it'll trickle down everywhere else.
So, see, I have a reverse opinion, and that would be, I think, once it's for the most part accepted, so it doesn't upset people. I think it goes the other way. I think it becomes less people get tattoos. I think most people get tattoos and get those crazy ear piercings and everything else
Oh,
for
those ear piercings,
for
dude.
attention. Once it no longer draws attention, they lose
A
interest.
statement, a statement, making a
Attention,
statement.
statement, whatever the case may be. Once it doesn't accomplish that any longer, I think it will be less universal, less not necessarily accepted because that's the reason they'll stop doing it because it is accepted. I just think once it is, you'll see less of it. It'll be less prevalent.
Yeah. And it's interesting to follow and observe on this and comment here and there. But thank you, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
No.
Like, subscribe, comment, share. Catch y'all later.
Bye bye.